Alright guys, so welcome back to Patreon, and welcome back to my Patreon requests that have been sent to me. As always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over there, hit the third tier, and from there you guys can start sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. But other than that, hope you all enjoy this, and yeah. So this one comes from a new subscriber called Brittany Digger. Hope I... Yes, Brittany Digger asked me to do a pretty interesting idea for this video, and that is an Amphibia Mad Max AU. So I thought this would be kind of cool, kind of like build the universe. I think I got a loose idea for a story, but it's more of world building than anything else. So yes, Amphibia Mad Max AU. How cool is this going to be? So let's get started. So the story begins with the origin of this universe, and that is that Sasha, Anne, and Marcy also came from the Green Place, as Furiosa did. They all had, while they all had like more normal names than Furiosa, they all had like their own. They had their own names, like they had their own little taglines too. Like Anne was the Knight. Anne was called the Knight, because she was like going to be in their culture like the next big defender. She was like in line. Anne was in line to be like the next big defender of the Green Place. She was ready to be that great defender and was training to be as such. The other thing was that she was being trained by her mother, who was the previous knight. And she basically says, like, one day you will be our greatest defender from the outside world. We hold the last Green Place in all of the world. And once it's gone, and if anything should happen, it'll be on us to avenge that our lands. So keep that in mind. Then we have Sasha, Sasha's tag name is the Scar Giver. Sasha's whole thing is that she had her family had died of plague, and the plague itself had also ravaged Sasha and left her with all like these burn marks and whatnot, these scars and whatnot all over her on some parts of her body. What it really was, it wasn't so much a plague as it was radiation burns. So no one, since it's been past, long past the nuclear war that created the Mad Max universe, essentially what it really is that Sasha has been, like, her parents were exposed to radiation, and the burns on her body are also radiation burns. So, but the reason why she's called Scar Giver is because whenever she beats an opponent, she likes to leave a little mark on them. She likes to, like, Sasha takes pleasure in, like, giving wounds and making sure, like, every time you look in the mirror, or like you see your reflection, or look at your hand, or any part of your body I marked you're going to remember me. You're going to remember the humiliation I put on you, like, or that I beat you, like that, and that's gonna and this is gonna drive you nuts, or have you come back and fight me, and maybe you'll give me a scar of my own. So that's Sasha, and then we come to Marcy. Marcy was known as the Keeper. Basically, her job was to keep all knowledge, not just of the sisterhood, but also like keep all knowledge of what happened after the Green Place. Essentially, what it is that Marcy's whole thing was to essentially keep records. Like, she was more or less like a bookkeeper and had all these books from the before times, before, the Great Fire happened, nuclear war happened, and she was tasked with keeping all of that safe. Well, that didn't happen because raiders came, took Furiosa, and the girls were also driven from their lands. Like, they were all separated in the chaos. And as far as they know, each one is their own, like, the last survivor of the sisterhood. So Anne was taken by Anne was driven out by slavers. She did kill the slavers that captured her, but she was left wandering alone, and she didn't want to go back because in her mind it's like, the world, my mother was killed, I lost my sisters, I lost everything, the Green Place is gone, and I failed to protect it. I'm just going to go out and wander in the desert until I die. Sasha was taken, but Sasha never went back because now it's like, I can see the world. Because Sasha's whole thing was that while, she always thought the green place, while it was like most of the sisterhood called it an Eden, she saw it as like, y'all just kept, it was just a prison. It was a beautiful prison. And now I'm going to go out and see the world for myself. Like, now I'm going to be able to go out into the wide world and see what lies out there for me. Meanwhile, you have Marcy, who was taken. Marcy didn't escape from the people who captured her, and yeah, she got sold off to another group, and we'll get to them later. So let's cycle back to Anne. Anne, like I said, has basically been like, she's given up. Like, she is full on like, I failed my people. I failed my mother. I don't deserve to live. Like, I really don't deserve anything but death, and a slow one at that. So like I said, she's been wandering the desert for a while, until eventually she just collapses and is like, yeah, I'm going to just die out in the desert and burn to death. It'll be fine. But however, a little caravan is passing by, and it's of Sprig, Polly, and Hop Pop, who in here are mutates. They're basically like, the radiation kind of fucked them up, and now they look more amphibious. So they find her, and they're like, holy crap, she's dying out here. Let's get her in the back. So Sprig and Polly help pull her in, put her in the back of the cart, and they just go back to they're headed back to their little village. Meanwhile, Anne is like given water, and like and Sprig's like, hey, I'm Sprig. Where'd you come from? Where are you from? And Anne's first reaction is like pull out a knife and try to almost gut him, but and Sprig's like, whoa, 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 we saved you. Like, we basically found you out in the desert, and we were trying to save you. It's okay. We're friends. So Anne's kind of weirded out by that and just kind of like leaves it alone. Sasha, however, the slaver, she finds another group of like raiders, and they call themselves the Toads, and they're of course led by Grime. Sasha like shows herself, sword and like gun in hand, and Grime like tries to like, we need a new woman in our group. We need some more breeding females. Let's get her. But of course, old Scargiver doesn't play like that and lives up to her name. Only when one of the raiders that touch her, the scar she gives him is she cuts off his dick. And Grime is like, I like you. Come on, let's you want to join us? We got water and food. So Sasha joins and eventually rises the rank to Grime's second in command, for showing how brutal she is, and Sasha just loves it. Like, Sasha is just in all kinds of love with the idea of being just this raider going across the the Badlands and the deserts and what have you. Following that, we have our next one, who is Marcy. And Marcy gets found, like, she got sold off and taken by a group who call themselves the Salamanders. The Salamanders are, of course, led by Andreas. Andreas in here is like a big, muscular mutate who also carries a lot of knowledge from the before times, and he basically tells Marcy of stories of like the times before and like things like that. And he says like, I fought in the Great Fire and saw like how the war happened and how it all occurred. It was actually kind of cool, actually. And he basically has Marcy like be tasked with safeguarding the knowledge he has, because Marcy's all sad because she lost she lost her sisters, and she lost the knowledge she was meant to protect as a keeper. So Anne, still reeling from the loss of her home, is like, yeah, you didn't have to do this. I didn't, I only did this because I only am staying with you until I have enough strength, and I'm going to go out into the world and find and probably go out to die somewhere. And Sprig's like, no, it's fine. You're safe here. And she's like, no. I don't deserve to live. Like, I failed my sisters, I lost my friends, I lost my family, I lost my mother. I was meant to be a knight. I was meant to be a protector of my people, and I failed. Meanwhile, and Sprig like basically talks to her as like everything's like you can still live for them. So Anne has to now readjust to life living in this village. Meanwhile, you have Sasha and the raiders who are just going around raiding, and Sasha is having just the most wonderful life of killing and pillaging across every settlement they come across. Kind of like Grime is basically like Lord Humongous in a way. Then you have Marcy, who now has all this knowledge, all this knowledge, and all of this to be kept. But it's clear Andreas is hiding something. We don't know what yet, but we'll get to that. So one day, so eventually, we flash forward a couple months ahead, and Anne is basically the sheriff of Wartwood, the little village of Wartwood, where she's more or less keeping peace in the town. Then Sasha and the raiders show up. And first they send in scouts who Anne basically left their heads on pikes as like a new keep out sign. So obviously that pissed off Grimes' raiders. So they go. Anne's there waiting with like rifles and guns in hand. And there's Sasha like, oh my god, Sasha, you're alive. And Sasha's like, oh my god, you're alive. So they meet. They basically talk, and they're like, so you're like the sheriff now of this little village? What happened to being a knight? And she's like, I'm still a knight. I'm just now protecting these people. Like, it's my job now to protect these people. Sasha's just like, really? You just decided to do the same thing over again that your mom put upon you? Didn't you want to see the world? And she's like, no, I want to protect our people. And Sasha's just like, well, I did something arguably better. I went out into the world and became, a stronger person. So I don't know what deal you're having, but like this kind of sucks. Like this straight up this life you have, yeah, it's garbage. Yeah, I don't like it. So that kind of puts Sasha and Anne at odds. But during that little squabble that almost leads to Wartwood and the raiders almost getting into a fight, they get attacked by essentially a third group, and the third group is the newt, or the salamanders. Salamanders come in, attack both, and start capturing people and taking them away. So obviously that kind of trigger, and among them is Grime and Sprig. So, and also Hop Pop is killed in the ensuing attack. So the two wayward sisters unite once more, and they travel to follow the salamanders, and basically is like, we're gonna kill them all, and we're going to kill them all, and like Polly's like, and after that, and Anne's like, there's gonna be no after. So Sasha and Anne follow the group, follow the slavers back to Newtopia. That's where they find like Marcy. And she's kind of like keeping records on all the slaves, and they're like, Marcy, what the fuck? And she's like, oh, hey girls, what's up? I'm glad you guys are alive. It's I'm so happy you guys are alive. I found the Salamanders Society have been keeping records of everything before times. We, I didn't fail. Like, I wasn't the only one, and now I don't feel like I failed anymore. But they also discovers like, why are you keeping slaves? And they're like, oh, it's just labor. And they're like, that's forced labor. That's called slavery, Marcy. And she's like, no, you don't understand. Andreas has a plan. He has a beautiful weapon that's going to unite the people, and we need people to work on and tend to it. And they're like, well, what's this weapon? And she showcases it. It's not the core, but it's a fucking nuke. It's a fucking nuke left behind from the war from the nuclear war of World War III. Yeah. So it's an unused nuke. So Sasha, Marcy, and Anne are kind of like debating on what to do. Marcy's like, no, you don't understand. Andreas is going to be a great uniter of this world, and he's going to use the bomb to scare people. And he's like, well, what if he just uses it anyway? So they have to convince Marcy to join them to stop this great bomb from ever, being used. So from there, the three do basically kill Andreas and overthrow him. Marcy's put into power, even though there are other members of the court who are like, I should have been in line, and they're like, please do make your opinions noted. Your head will be on the floor afterwards. Sasha goes back to being, with the Raiders, and Anne returns back to Wartwood as the sheriff. And, yeah. All in all, there's your story. I know I could have expanded longer, but, I didn't want to make this video too long. So, once again, I'd like to thank Brittany for this Patreon request and continued patronage. You guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of it? Comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. And like I said before, if you'd like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon where you guys can hit the 3rd tier. That'll allow you access to all the videos over there as well as send me Patreon requests to do here on YouTube. But other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.